Undoubtedly one of pop's greatest history makers. But back at the beginning, they were just 5 British babes running around in platforms yelling, "Girl power!" Melanie Chisholm was the sportiest of them all. And now, 26 years on from the release of their first smash hit,
If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends.
Mel's revealing all the spicy details of her time in the supergroup with a new memoir. I dropped into her place in London to get the goss. And thank you for having us in your beautiful home.
Well,
this is such a treat.
You're very welcome. It's lovely. You know, I've been in your home and now you're in mine.
Have you learned to play your piano yet?
No, it's kind of a bit of a bucket list thing. I decided, like everyone during the pandemic, it was something I was going to do, and it didn't happen.
I learnt to play Coldplay Clocks during the pandemic on the piano. I've not played it since.
Well, you know what? I would get you up there to do it, but it's so out of tune. Totally, you would sound like Les Dawson.
Nearly 20 years after the band's last official gig, the Spice Girls popped the platforms back on for a massive UK tour in 2019. Fans were pumped. I was surprised to read you say that you were a bit hesitant to do it, a bit hesitant to be Sporty Spice again. Why were you nervous about it?
Of course, you know, Victoria sadly didn't perform with us in 2019, so I had my reservations about that. But I just felt like, can I be Sporty Spice again? You know, can I run around and sing Wannabe?
And yes, you can, because you nailed it.
And I actually can, yeah. And I realised that, you know, I don't become Sporty Spice, I am her. It's something within me, and I just had this moment when I realised I'm all of these things all of the time. You know, you think, oh, when I'm with the girls, I'm sporty. When I'm on my own, I'm Melanie C. When I'm at home, I'm mum. And that kind of made me want to tell the story.
How does your daughter go with it? Is she a fan? How does she feel about mum being famous?
She is very embarrassed of me. I'm so embarrassing. But I think those shows was a real eye-opener for her. It was the first time she'd seen me on stage as a Spice Girl, and with like 70, 80,000 people screaming when your mum's face comes on the screen, she was quite blown away. And I was cool for 2 weeks, and then I just went back to being regular old embarrassing mum.
Mel's memoir, Who I Am, is a candid reflection of the band's first days and the wild dynamics of 5 girls living together.
I was definitely tidy-upper.
Yeah.
Jerry was a little bit like mum. Melanie's always naked,
and
always messy, always loud.
It also explores the challenges of setting up a girl group in an era of boy bands. When you auditioned for the Spice Girls, what did you think you were auditioning for?
Well, I knew it was a girl band. You know, whatever that was going to go on to be, obviously none of us knew. I eventually end up going down to meet Jerry, Mel B and Victoria and a girl called Michelle.
I know, I didn't even know there was this Michelle in the group to start
Well, before
with.
me, there was somebody else. So there was many twists and turns before it became the Spice Girls, the 5 girls that everybody knows.
Have you ever spoken to Michelle since to say, like, look what you missed out on, babe?
I know, right? Well, she's, you know, there's been little articles written about her, and I actually don't know what she's doing right now. She didn't end up working in music.
Oh,
but
right.
she was unsure at the time. She had a place at uni, so, you know, the rest of us were so single-minded in what we wanted to do. So she didn't really fit in.
What about the dynamics as the years change? You talk a lot in the book about, and you still are, super close, but being that close and doing what you were doing, you know, there's got to be a cost to that as well.
Yeah.
When did things hit tricky times for you guys?
Well, I think, you know, from the day we first met, it was, you know, it's a real love affair. We adore each other and we drive each other nuts, probably in equal measures.
Yeah.
But then, of course, you know, little frustrations, little cracks start to appear.
One of those tense moments happened early on for Mel.
We were at the Brits in '96, and it was before Wannabe was released, and we'd had a few drinks, as one does, or one did at the Brits, because it was raucous in the '90s. And I swore at Victoria Beckham. Yeah, I was pulled up in it the next day, pulled up for my behaviour, and I'm threatened to be kicked out of the band. So that, completely floored me, and it just started this, you know, really controlling behaviour of myself and my actions.
As the Spice Girls star rose, Mel's health declined. Her battle with self-control spiralled into an eating disorder, something she'd first recognised at performing arts school.
You were humiliated by teachers in front of your classmates if you had put on a few pounds over the holidays, you know? I think I was very self-critical as well as being criticised by other people.
Well, I just think back to all the film clips and seeing you on stage and all the flips and things you're doing, and then that moment where you talk about doing a cartwheel and the man talking to you about the size of your thighs. And the feeling you have hearing that, it made me really angry reading it.
That moment for me stands out because, again, humiliated in front of the girls. And, yeah, it just made me very, very conscious that maybe I wasn't, you know, whether it's right to be in a pop group. I felt like I could sing, I knew that I could dance, but maybe I don't look the part. And yeah, and that's pretty daunting when it's your absolute fantasy and childhood dream to pursue this.
Well, you weren't the only one dealing with it as well. There was video of Michael Parkinson interviewing, you know, some of the girls and questioning whether, I think Victoria was anorexic.
You eat regularly?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a perfectly healthy diet.
Looking back now, did you talk about that as a group?
I mean, obviously we were really aware. We were spending all day, every day with each other, so we knew each other's eating habits, but it's a personal battle,
of course,
you know, and I think I was in denial for a long time as well. I kind of felt it was the only way I could be, to be able to look that way and to be part of the band.
When did you realise you needed to get help?
I think, you know, my body was quite starved of nutrition for many, many years. And as a reaction to that, I developed another eating disorder, which is binge eating disorder. And I think I was in LA, it was around the millennium when this really started to gather pace. And it was my first solo album, which was doing really well, but I was kind of unravelling. And then I came back here. It's weird because, you know, a lot of my memories are in this room. And I was just really low and really scared and not being able to control my eating, and I wasn't sleeping.
And that's when you reached out for help and got it.
Yeah.
One bit that particularly stuck out for me was when you were talking about relationships and how for a long time you were kind of encouraged not to have relationships, but yet some of the other girls could. And the idea that even that part of your life was managed in that way.
Looking back at one of the things which always struck me was like, it feels like it's one wheel for one and another for the others, right? You know, I think when you're vulnerable as well, when somebody goes,
is that a good idea?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for you. She's fine, she can have a boyfriend because she's like, she can cope with having a boyfriend. She's strong enough to have a boyfriend, but you're not. It makes you question yourself. You know, when you're already vulnerable, it's like, it's quite destructive, I think. Yeah.
And dating in the public eye, I didn't even realise that you had a brief fling with Robbie Williams. I mean, that was even, I was like...
I mean, it's so typical, isn't it? Like, this book's coming out and I think Robbie's got a record coming out as well, so it was like, oh my gosh, he's been quiet for years, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're doing a show together in a few weeks, I'm going to go like that. You might want to read chapter...
Well, because you do say at the end that he wasn't that lovely at the end. Does he know he wasn't that lovely?
Oh, yeah, and he's apologised to me, and a lot of waters, you know, gone under the bridge, and, yeah, we're absolutely fine, and have been for many, many years.
But Robbie wasn't Mel's only famous fling.
I met Anthony Kiedis. He came to our show in 1998 in LA, and yeah, we just started hanging out and spending a bit of time together. And then he wrote a song that was inspired by me, yeah.
So which song is that?
It's called Emmett Remus, and it's on Californication, which is like my favourite Chili Peppers record, right? I mean, how cool is that?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute honour to chat to you. I've been a fan from day one, and yeah, it's been lovely to be in your home. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, well, welcome to the UK. Have a wonderful time, but next time I want to be back on your turf.
Could you get Victoria on board, or is that a no, definitely?
You know, at the moment she's, you know, her dancing shoes are still hung up, but we have a feeling we can maybe change that. We're optimistic.
What a cliffhanger.
And Mel C's memoir, Who I Am, is out today. It was such a pleasure to talk to her.
She seems to be great. And how funny is it to see her so excited that the Chili Peppers wrote a song about her. Like,
she's a Spice Girl.
Girl.
I know.
Yeah.